Who wants to be a millionaire? Well, pretty much everyone. And multi-unit franchising might be a path that can get you there, but it's a tricky decision. So before you rush into multi-unit ownership, let's take a minute to really understand what goes into it. From a 40,000-foot view, owning more territory, it feels great. When you own neighboring territory, you feel protected from other franchisees taking business away, and you might feel like you've secured your future growth opportunities. But before rushing into the decision of how many territories you want to own, let's take a step back and review both the pros and the cons of multi-unit ownership to be sure you have all the information when deciding what's right for you. If you haven't decided yet on what franchise brand you want to be a part of, that's okay. Watch with us today, but I would encourage you to come back and watch once you know which brand you'd like to move forward with. The details of every brand are going to make a difference when making this decision. Okay, let's assume you now know what brand you want to move forward with. There are 5 things I want you to consider with multi-unit ownership. Number 1, what are the pros and cons of multi-unit ownership? Number 2, what's available to buy? Number 3, what are the additional requirements? Number 4, strategies to protect your downside. And number 5, best practices when buying multiple locations. Let's start with the cons. First, it's a larger investment that needs to be paid back. You will have more people and resources to manage. You will have additional operational requirements from your franchisor. This isn't a bad thing because your additional requirements are there to ensure you have enough business, but still is something to consider. And last, it may take you longer to cash flow. Okay, now let's take a look at the pros. The additional territory you buy is usually offered at a discounted price. This means your second territory is the same size as your original territory, but you pay less for it. Second, the extra territory should offer an opportunity for more sales, more profits, and a larger exit. Third, you can spread your marketing over multiple areas and create greater brand awareness. Leverage your employees and equipment across multiple territories. Do you have a really big job in territory number 2? No problem. Borrow some people and borrow some equipment from territory number 1. Become less vulnerable to a downturn in a single market. This is especially true for retail brands. What do you do if the city reroutes traffic or closes the street you're on for a while? When you own multiple locations, you're in a position to have some locations carry a low performer for a while. Later, you can sell some, but not all of your franchise business. Maybe later on, you decide you want to take some cash back out of the business, or you want to wind down your time in the business. If you own multiple territories, then you should be able to sell part, but not all of your business, giving you ultimate flexibility. And this last one is not widely known, but it's a very powerful financial pro. If you are buying a service-based, non-retail franchise, you can usually add the franchise fee of the territories into your loan, meaning you can own the rights to extra territories for less than $1,000 a month. If you still feel multi-unit ownership is for you, the next thing is to take a look at what is available. Start by asking if there are any neighboring territories available to buy, or is there any territory available in another area you would be willing to operate out of? The franchisor should only say yes if the market meets the demographics they know you need to be successful. If you need 10,000 women in households making $100,000 or more, then the franchisor should be able to tell you that. But know that this doesn't always mean you have to buy a full territory. Since you are already buying one territory, many times the franchisor will allow you to purchase additional neighboring territories that wouldn't otherwise be viable. I'll use my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska as an example. About 30 minutes away is Fremont, Nebraska, a town of 35,000 people. Many franchise brands would tell you that Fremont is too small to operate, but since it is neighboring Omaha, which is a viable market, they may approve it. This doesn't mean you should compromise on criteria that are important to your success like demographics, income, or whatever. But if there is a smaller neighboring territory you're interested in developing, ask about partial territory add-ons. Next, you should consider what are your obligations as a multi-unit franchisee. If you're a retail franchisee, how much time do you have to open future locations? Will your financing allow you to meet the development schedule without counting on profits from the first location? The profits may very well cover your expenses, but a best practice is to be sure you already have access to the capital needed to develop your future territories. Franchisors usually have the right to take territory back if it's not developed within the timeline laid out in the franchise agreement, so plan accordingly. Now, if you're a service-based or non-retail franchise, you want to consider things like additional minimum royalties that may be due, any vehicle or equipment that may be required. Do you need to lease an office space once you hit a certain sales figure? And are there any additional marketing requirements? Again, don't look at the additional requirements as anything negative. Your franchisor has put them there to ensure you have the right resources and lead generation to support your multi-unit ownership. Okay, let's hope everything works out for you just as planned, but just in case the business throws you a curveball and you don't want to develop your future territories, there are some strategies that you can use to protect your downside. The best part is you bought that territory at a discount, so technically you have an asset worth more than what you paid for it. However, it's unlikely you will be able to profit from that value. You might have marketing costs and a transfer fee associated with selling that territory. So your goal should be to break even and remove your future obligations if you don't want to develop it. These are all strategies you will want to consider before you become a franchisee. First, speak with the franchisor to confirm you can sell undeveloped territories. Now, be sure you don't mistake this as a timeline extension. While you should be able to sell the territory to another franchisee, the new franchisee would be required to open within your agreed upon timeline unless the franchisor granted an extension. Once the franchisor has confirmed that you can sell your territory, ask them two things. Number one, if they would waive or reduce the transfer fee if you sold the territory. And number two, if they would grant you an extension on your timeline if your first location is not yet profitable 6 months prior to your opening deadline. I'd say it's 50-50 on them agreeing to this, but you have the leverage before you sign as a franchisee, so you may as well try. If they say yes, have it added to the franchise agreement. Know your numbers. Let's hope you are buying a franchise brand that shows the profit and loss statement from their existing locations in the FDD. As you create your own budget, use those numbers to determine how many territories you can afford and how many locations you need to accomplish your financial goals. Know the area. Don't just buy a neighboring territory because you can. You should be familiar with the area and feel comfortable that you can be successful. Align with your business partners, employees, and spouse on the decision. Let's be honest, it affects them as well. When you're going through validation, ask existing multi-unit franchisees about their experience, profitability, and if they could rewind time, would they make the decision to buy multiple territories again? For service-based franchisees, speak to your lender to understand if you can add the additional franchise fee to your loan. Again, you should be able to secure additional territories for less than $1,000 a month. There you have it, the pros and cons and many other things to consider when becoming a multi-unit franchise owner. I've been a multi-unit franchisee for over 20 years and it financially changed my life. I hope it does the same for you. Use this resource to plan ahead and you will be in a much better position to live life on your terms through multi-unit ownership.